and welcome to our new installment of the New Normal in Government Contracting. Today, we are so fortunate to have my newest friend, Teresa Moon with Parabilis. I am so glad to have you on today. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Parabilis specializes in providing fast, flexible, and affordable lines of credit to small and medium-sized federal contractors that may not qualify for traditional bank financing. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that. But we always start, Teresa, with a little bit on the pandemic, as we are talking about the new normal. Why don't we just start with your general thoughts of any sweeping changes throughout your industry and how people are doing work in 2021?
I think, thank you again for having me on, but I think this platform in and of itself is very indicative of where COVID has led us. 2 years ago, I wasn't frequently being asked to engage on podcasts or doing virtual presentations. I, like you, I'm a people person. I want tangibility. I want to be able to touch you, feel you, hug you, see your reaction in real time so I can change up what I'm saying if I need to. And so I think that what COVID did was it allowed us for a quick pivot to learn a virtual market a little bit better, which allows for better marketing for our businesses, I think. However, it also closed down what those of us like you and I like to do on a regular basis. It completely made us unable to interact face to face, which from a normal commerce standing is the normal that we were used to, is being able to shake hands and engage one-on-one, face-to-face in a room where you can feel the palpability of the vibe around you. And I think it's harder to get that virtually, but I think everyone's done a pretty good job of adjusting otherwise.
Oh, that's great. We recently made our first, I've not met you in person hire, and it was different. I mean, we're a small team at Global Services, and our camaraderie and our chemistry is part of what I think is special about our company. And so working from home has been interesting, but it has, to your point, it's more deliberate communication. So we are reaching out in different ways. And in some ways, I think we're closer than others, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot and talk a little bit about business. We recently put up an article from Parabilis regarding the need for alternative funding for government contractors.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about when and why a contractor should consider alternative lending options and how that can help their business.
Right. Well, that's a great question. I think that's a lot of where my passion is driven within the industry, is being able to assist a small business. I think being that COVID imposed a lot of pivoting opportunities for people within their business, government contracting became more attractive than ever before because of the consistency of the pay. So even though you may have been successful in the commercial market, transferring over into the government contracting market is a different beast in and of itself. And I actually heard you having conversations with people when we met about how there's such a learning curve there that people don't understand. Even though you may have been successful in the commercial market, that's not going to necessarily transfer into success into government contracting, because there's a process and a deliverance of your being able to interact in the process. Acquisition is not easy, and being able to engage in the different markets is really difficult because it's very small town, small community minded, even though it's a huge market. And so people aren't always very welcoming. And what I noticed when I was stepping into government contracting is that everyone wants the new technology and the new innovation, but they don't want to be the first person to give you a shot, because they don't want to be the ones that have mud on their face if it doesn't work out. So it's like the chicken before the egg scenario, where what are you supposed to do then? If you don't get past performance history, you can't ever break into the market. So a lot of what goes in line with that is being able to show your ability to perform financially, right? Even getting an 8A certification requires your ability to show your potential within your potential for success, your ability to finance the opportunities that are going to be coming your way based off of having that certification. But how do you do that? A bank isn't going to just, we're not going to walk in there, even if you're independently wealthy, you're not going to walk into a bank and get a line of credit for your brand new government contracting business. It's just not going to happen. There are a lot of things, criteria because of financial regulations and federal covenants that are going to require you to have certain things in place. And so there have been alternatives in financing for a long time. And of course, anyone that's been in the game long enough has probably been taken advantage of one time or another by not knowing enough of what they don't know. And I think that's key, is that knowing what all the options are. A startup company is most likely going to have to self-fund. In the very beginning, when you're going after your first contract opportunity, you're not going to be able to get affordable financing. That's going to just open up, someone's not going to open up their wallet and hand it to you unless it's a friend or a family member, and that can be sketchy sometimes. A mentor of mine always says, how many Thanksgivings do you want to sit across from Uncle Tony before you are like, hey, I still can't pay you back. Sorry, so what are you going to do? And so we entered into the market, we as in Parabilis entered in the market because of an unfulfilled portion of it between the traditional lines of credit that you get at a bank and the alternatives that are on the other side of things that can cost you a lot of money. And a cash flow shortfall can follow you from contract opportunity to contract opportunity if you don't hit it in the beginning. So we always tell people, come to the table with a plan. If you have a plan, business plan, it should include financing and where to get it at each stage, because there are different opportunities within each stage of the federal contract. So I think it's just knowing where to plan better and having really great partners in place that are experts where you're not. And I think that that's where a lot of CEOs fall short.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I think we believe in our own mission sometimes without knowing how much we have to explain it, which leads me to my next question, which is, what are your recommendations if I know I need financing, and especially during COVID-19? What are the kinds of things I should do in order to be ready to even approach a Parabilis, to be able to ask for the kinds of financing I might need for a contract I've just won because my payroll is coming up faster than I have money in the bank, and I bank with a large bank who does not have an understanding of government contracting?
I think what you just said there is key. It's finding partners that understand federal contracting, because especially if you're new to the business, you need someone that's going to help you navigate that path, right? So I think first and foremost, every person, as soon as you get an FEIN number and you're in federal contracting, you need to have a bookkeeper, accountant, or fractional CFO that understands DCAA and FAR regulations. That's key. Number one, that should be the first outsourcing option that you take on right there. You need to be able to show financial records of some sort. You can't walk in and get money from anyone that isn't a little shady unless you can show some financial capability, some financial background. So that's why I say startups usually have the hardest time, because if they have no past performance history, they might not have anything on paper yet. But something easy is just opening up a QuickBooks account and starting bookkeeping records for yourself, I think is key. But it's something that shouldn't be delayed. And I think that same confidence that makes companies successful is sometimes the arrogance that keeps them from doing things running properly along the way, because they don't want to outsource, because they think because they're smart at one thing that they can do it all. And that's not a good attitude to have. You've got to build your external team as strong as your internal team. Think of them as external employees, your accountant, your attorneys, your contracting officers should all have the same best interest at mind as the people you employ to sit behind the desk that you provide for them.
So are you meant to be a long-term solution, right? So if I'm looking for alternative financing, what's a typical time frame? What's a typical amount and time frame that I should be thinking about? Because I think one of the confusions, not only knowing what your different options are, or sort of thinking through a longer term plan of how you're going to finance your company from start through real growth.
Absolutely. I think 100% of it is based off of your industry. What are you providing within government contracting? There are certain types of businesses that are never going to be able to access traditional working capital from a bank. Banks don't like certain types of businesses, right? It's too risky. The risk factor is going to dictate where you're going to go to for your financing. We always tell people traditionally they come on board with us anywhere from 6 months to 5 years. Depends on what your growth capability is, right? Are you looking to grow rapidly, or are you doing a steady growth? That's another thing to keep in mind. traditional lenders don't like rapid growth. They don't want hockey stick growth. Sounds funny, right? It shows that you're performing well. However, it's a risk because you could go from $100,000 contract to a $20 million contract from one job to the next. And they want to see sustainability of that success where alternative capital will allow it. So unless you're in one of those industries that can't ever access traditional capital, you're usually looking at under 5 years of alternative financing.
No, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us today, because I don't think that everyone is aware of the different kinds of financing that are available to them. And there are some really bad ones. And then there are some that you just aren't going to be able to access given your size or, you know, what kind of business you are. And you've helped me understand that, which is interesting. Again, you know, the fact that I'm growing well and quickly and that my bank doesn't want to finance me seems almost silly to me, but I do understand those risk factors for sure.
Yeah.
I want to encourage everyone to take a look at the Parabilis article that we put up on our blog site. Be sure, Teresa, tell me 2 things. How do I get in touch with you? I'm interested. I want to know more. What's the best way to find you?
Absolutely. Well, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I do presentations all the time that we post up on there. You can also email me anytime. I think the best thing that I offer to the federal marketplace are the connections that I can make for you. I partner with people like you, Courtney, and people within supporting circuits within federal contracting so that I can be a connector for everything that a small business within government contracting might need to be successful. So I would say follow us on Parabilis on LinkedIn, and Parabilis.com is a great place to connect with us as well. We have lots of ways for you to engage with us on consultations, which are free. We don't charge people to call us and have us help develop a plan for them. So I appreciate that.
I can definitely vouch for Teresa being a connector. She's got a great network, is dialed into a bunch of our partners as well. And any really good business development person in our space is going to have that network to try to help you find different types of help that are not necessarily always the ones that we provide. So we thank you and appreciate you being a partner. I'm going to give you the last thought today. It can be personal. It can be professional. It could, you know, be about the new normal or your upcoming conference in New Orleans, whatever you prefer, but you get the final thought.
Awesome. Thank you. I would just encourage people in the smaller market to not get discouraged. There is a lot to learn. And like we discussed, there's a learning curve, but I also think there's a lot of success to be had if you navigate it well. So finding good partners that understand the federal marketplace and that are willing to give you advice to steer you in the right direction on how to grow properly, I think is key. And outside of that is developing a plan on the onset. It's hard to decide where you want to go with your federal contracting company after you've already started in it. Going into it like you would into, you know, battlefield, right? You're not going to go into the battlefield and then decide what you're going to do. You're going to go into the battlefield with a plan of execution. And that's what you should do with your business. So that, in that sense, it's not any different than the commercial market. Federal marketplace lends itself to that as well. But I think having a good, solid plan with partners that understand federal contracting is key.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the word partner is the key part of that. Having someone understand your business and lining up with the right people that can help you move forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I thank you for your time today. I know you're in Florida, and I appreciate that you took some time to do this with us. Thanks to our audience for participating in another new normal in government contracting, and we will look forward to joining you next month as well. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.